right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Commish report here on the Sornin channel. And for those of you who aren't in my league, this is actually for my fantasy football league that I'm in, which is called the League of Shiva. You can see over my shoulder here, that's my draft board from my draft, and it was a great time. And I know it's almost week 3. It's Wednesday, just before the start of week 3, but I wanted to go through, and I wanted to make this an ongoing series, but I'm going to have to start here in week 3 and recap weeks 1 and 2, and then move on from there. We'll also preview week 3 coming up, which will start tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. And then every week I'll post another video from there. So I want to start off by saying that here going into week 3, we've got a couple of undefeated teams. Revis and Butthead, managed by Chris, and the New Hampshire Madmen, managed by Dave. And the Some Things You Can't Unsee Bros. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. I'm going to have to say that slowly when I say it. But that is TG Timmy Gear's team. Those 3 teams are at 2-0. And then 4 teams are tied at 1-1, and there are 3 teams at 0-2. The 3 teams at 0-2: Hump Day Camels, Nocho Cinco, and Binghamton. So it's kind of not a lot of teams all tied up. It's kind of spread across the board. So here in week 3, it's already starting to shape up into who's going to be the dark horse, who's going to be the best team in the league and the worst team in the league. But getting to this point was very interesting. First of all, I want to go through what I think are the best games of the week and what I would call the poop games of the week, or the worst games of the week. So the first game of the week in week 1 that I thought was the best game out of the 5 of them was the Hump Day Camels, my girlfriend Linda, against the Mile High Social Club, which is Dan. It wound up coming down to Monday night. And Monday night, of course, in week 1, there were 3 games that happened that night, or 2 games that happened that night. And so it was, what was it, Philadelphia and Washington was one of them, and then the other one was, Houston and, yeah, it was Houston and, oh God, I can't remember it, San Diego, Houston and San Diego. And so that particular game came down to the final score was 137 to 136 in favor of the Mile High Social Club. However, the Hump Day Camels had a lead going into Monday night, and but the Mile High Social Club recorded their second highest score that week, and they erased a 44-point deficit on Monday night, and they snuck by and won 137 to 136. Now, Hump Day Camels had the first pick in the draft. They had Adrian Pearson, who got them 30 points that week. But and also she has Andrew Luck as her quarterback. So combined, they got 58 points total. And she was looking pretty good. I mean, a score of 136 in this particular league. It's not a PPR league. It's just a pretty much standard league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a swing position, a tight end, kicker, and defense. And then there's a couple of bonuses that are available for each team that you can get, like 40-plus yard touchdown play is a 2-point bonus. And then if you have any players go over 400 yards or 300 yards passing, there's a 5-point or 10-point bonus associated with that. And then on top of that, same thing goes for like running backs and receivers as well. They can get the same thing. They can get bonuses if they have career days. Which brings me to my next game. Now, obviously, coming from behind like that was my best game of the week. I would also have to say that the other best game of the week would have to be my team, the Big Fat 77s, with a walloping 198 points in week 1. Would have beaten everybody in the league, including the Philly Cheesesteaks, Jeff's team, who is the team that I actually played in week 1. I beat him 198 to 101, which was unbelievable. Really, what it came down to was Peyton Manning. And actually, it came down to Peyton Manning and a few others as well. Like I have Victor Cruz, Jordy Nelson, Julius Thomas. That was it right there. Peyton Manning and Julius Thomas. if you guys remember, week 1, Thursday Night Football, opening night, the Ravens have to go out to Denver to play them there, and the Ravens are, of course, the Super Bowl reigning champions, and they don't get to open at home because the Baltimore Orioles, who share a parking lot with them, had a night game that night. So they forced the NFL to make the defending Super Bowl champions go out to Denver to start the season. And I'm sure you guys all remember that was Peyton Manning broke records that day, and he wound up getting 72 points for the big fat 77s, and which is just, it was unbelievable. I mean, the game was pretty much over. The week was pretty much over for Jeff before Sunday even happened. After Thursday night, I wasn't even watching the second half of the game, really, and the first half of the game was, it was kind of like a normal game, but then all of a sudden Peyton Manning exploded and had like a career day. It was unbelievable. So that's what happened in that game. And then I'll just bring you through the scores for the rest of week 1. Revis and Butthead, yes, that's Revis and Butthead, managed by Chris, took the win over the Doug Tater ship, and he won 132 to 105. The big names in that matchup were Tony Romo. Reggie Bush had 32 points for him. And he actually managed to win with one of his players, David Wilson, finishing the week with a -3, which is pretty remarkable. So Chris picks up the win in that matchup. And moving on to the next matchup was, if my computer can catch up with me here, sometimes I move a little quicker than the computer. Binghamtons versus the New Hampshire Madmen. So David is the New Hampshire Madmen. John, my brother, is the Binghamtons. New Hampshire Madmen pull off a slight victory, 115 to 96. Well, that's not very slight. That's a 19-point victory, so that's still pretty good. Some key players in that matchup from Dave's team. He's got RG3, and even though Washington's kind of off to a rough start this season, RG3 wound up with 28 points that week. And also Brian Hartline from Miami, wide receiver, 22 points to help edge out his team in that win. So we're going to move on to what was it? Is this the final game of the week? Yeah. The Some Things You Can't Unsee, Bro team, I'm hosting this show. He's managing the team, TG Timmy Gear. He beat my mother, Nocho Cinco. Yeah, that's right, not Ocho Cinco, Nocho Cinco. He beat her 129 to 83. And so week 1 was pretty straightforward. A couple of really good games, couple of close games, but ultimately some guys won, some guys lost. And then moving into week 2, I want to try to get through this quickly. That's why I'm going through this quickly. In the future, I'm going to be only wrapping up 1 week and then moving on to previewing the next week. So trying to bear with me here as I try to get through this pretty quickly. Now, my game of the week in week 2 was the Nocho Cinco Philly cheesesteaks. Now, that game was actually tied to start off the night on Monday Night Football. She had her defense going, the Cincinnati Bengals, and of course, the Bengals were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not really the best game in the world, but it was tied at that point. And she was playing the Philly cheesesteaks, managed by Jeff. Jeff manages to hold on and take that win, 105 to 100. So a very, very close game, very interesting matchup, and interesting game to watch. Interesting fantasy game to watch, because that was what I was watching that night, because I had already lost on Sunday. I'll get to what my score was in a moment, but the poop matchup of the week, it was actually not really that poopy, but it kind of was. The Some Things You Can't Unsee Bros and the Binghamtons going up against each other, 98 to 63 in favor of TG Timmy Gear, the Some Things You Can't Unsee Bros. I call it the poop matchup of the week because neither one of the teams scored over 100 points. Of course, Timmy came close with 98. But it was kind of a poop matchup. Like, anything could have happened in that week, in that game for that week. Drew Brees going up against Tom Brady. Drew Brees shot Tom Brady out of the water. So that was my poop matchup of the week. Sorry, guys. But moving on to my matchup, which I was just alluding to. I had lost on Sunday, and so Monday night I didn't even have the game center up, the NFL.com game center. I lost 171 to 134 to the Doug Tatership. So he takes a 1-1 record into week 3, and I'm going into week 3 also with a 1-1 record. Now, going back real quick, Timmy won 2 weeks in a row, so he's 2-0. John lost 2 weeks in a row, so he's 0-2. And then also my mother, Nocho Cinco, she's at 0-2, and Jeff is moving in at 1-1 going into week 3. So moving on to the last 2 matchups, just to get those out. Revis and Butthead slaughtering the Hump Day Camels 138 to 76. That game was over by 4 o'clock on Sunday, and unfortunately for my girlfriend Linda, she's got an 0-2 record going into week 3. Chris, however, undefeated at 2-0 and moves on to week 3 undefeated. Which I'll get to that in a moment. There will be a battle of the undefeateds in week 3, so that should be interesting. And wrapping up week 2, 127 to 93, the New Hampshire Madmen beat the Mile High Social Club. Not really much to speak of in that game, but another game where Robert Griffin III gets 33 points in a losing effort. So even though they may not be the best team in the world, the Redskins, RG3 is still giving some pretty good numbers and helping people win. I mean, that was pretty much the difference in that game right there. So, moving on to next week, and what I'll do is at the end of this broadcast here, at the end of this video, I will post the... I'll have my outro music, which I hope you guys liked the intro music at the very beginning of the episode. Worked very hard on that. But anyways, here are the matchups going into week 3. The Big Fat 77's taking on the Nocho Cincos. That's my mother. So I'm taking on my mother this weekend. And so far, I am scheduled or projected to beat her 118 to 81. Of course, you can't always rely on projections, but, so be it. Also, the Doug Tatership taking on the New Hampshire Madmen. Doug at 1-1, Dave at 2-0. Should be a good matchup. Right now, it's very close in the projections in favor of Dave, 146 to 140. Moving on, Hump Day Camels will be taking on the Philly Cheesesteaks. That's probably shaping up to be the poop matchup of the week. Sorry, babe. 90 to 85 in favor of Jeff right so far. Of course, this is only Wednesday. People haven't adjusted their lineups and so forth, so we'll see what really plays out when that happens. But then the Mile High Social Club and Binghamtons will face off. Dan at 1-1 and John at 0-2, trying to pick up his first win of the year. And right now, that's also very close and could wind up being a poop matchup. We could have 2 or 3 poop matchups next week. 112 to 110 in favor of Dan, the Mile High Social Club. And then, of course, the big game of the week, my prediction will be that this one will possibly even come down to maybe a tie. And the tiebreaker in this league goes on the quarterback. So if it winds up in a tie, the quarterback matchup will decide who wins the week. And I will tell you one thing right now, it could go either way, but it's a battle of the 2-0s. The Something You Can Unsee Bros, managed by TG Timmy Gear, and the Revis and Buttheads, managed by my brother Chris, should be a good one to watch. Drew Brees against Matt Schaub, Chris Johnson against Reggie Bush, right down the line in their matchups. And it should be interesting to watch. And it's a battle of the undefeated. So one of those 2 teams will come out 2-1, and the other one will come out 3-0. So that's going to do it for that. I will post the standings at the end of this video. Hope you guys all enjoyed my Commish report. And all I have to say is, Mom, I'm sorry. I love you, but you're going down this week. And this is the Commish, Jamie Comrie, here on the Sornin channel, signing off. Have a good day, everybody. Okay, so there is the standings for you. New Hampshire Madmen and Revis and Butthead atop the Shiva North Division at 2-0, followed up by Big Fat 77s and Philly Cheesesteaks tied at 1-1. Binghamton rounds up the division at 0-2, and then moving on to Shiva South, the Some Things You Can't Unsee Bros at 2-0, the Mile High Social Club and Doug Taterships tied at 1-1, and the Hump Day Camels and Nocho Cincos rounding out that one 0-2. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for watching, everybody.